Hello and welcome to the next in the series of Healthcheck webinars provided by NMBS in conjunction with Moorgate Management. As part of NMBS's ongoing commitment to help you as members, the Merchant Healthcheck series has been devised to provide you with some top tips based on Moorgate's experience to help look at ways to grow, adapt or turn around your business. These bite-sized webinars will focus on important elements within your business. So by the end of each webinar, they will hopefully have provided you with some key takeaways for you to use within your business. Within this webinar, we will share some of the considerations when changing ERP systems. We will look at why do you want to change, establishing a project team and creating a specification, identifying systems that meet your specification, then evaluating each system and creating a short list, then looking at making the final decision, and then next steps. So looking at the first of these in terms of why do you want to change? Before you start, this is a simple question that's worth taking the time to consider before you go any further. The easiest way to look at this is to look at pain points. So it helps to look at each module of your ERP system and understand by asking each department within your business what their key issues are with your existing ERP, what they think they are missing, and why they think they want to change, i.e. your pain points. And to help with this, we've shared some of the typical ones here. So within the financials module, common pain points are things like rebate management calculation, richness of the accounting functionality, or EDI capability. Within the business intelligence and reporting, the common pain points are about accessing the data or the richness of the data and analytics that you can get out. Looking at the trade counter and sales order processing modules, it's often about customer terms, price overrides and quote management. Within the CRM or customer relationship management module, the richness of the functionality is often the pain point that's experienced. Within procurement, typically the forecasting, ease of price book maintenance, and how rich the content management system functionality is and the PIM capability are very common pain points here. Within inventory management and warehouse management, how easily you can manage min-max economic order quantity and how you treat negative stock are often seen as pain points, along with inter-branch transfers, visibility of orders up the supply chain too. Manufacturing, and in particular the conversion of raw materials to finished goods, particularly within timber processing businesses, is often a challenge, as is units of measure, whether that's lengths versus packs. Workflow automation is often experienced within processes too manual, or they're reliant on hard copy forms, as seen as the pain points here. Mobile access to and the ability to use the ERP remotely and electronic capability with things like electronic PODs are very common pain points. And then finally on integration and connectivity, how easily your ERP can be manually or customize integrations to other systems are often seen as major pain points by users. Hopefully from looking at these, this should help you begin to understand your business needs and why you think you want to change. At the same time, documenting your existing processes, if you haven't already, will help you in terms of looking at end-to-end processes, and two main reasons for that. Firstly, when you document them, you'll invariably see where there are issues in the processes, or better or more simpler ways of doing this. And secondly, it will ensure that everyone within your business knows, and more importantly, is following the same processes. In our experience, a lot of perceived issues with ERPs are because not everyone follows the same process. Having done that, it then pays to understand what the gap analysis is. So this is where you compare documenting your existing processes to what your existing ERP is capable of doing, and the difference between these being the gap. and that will help you to decide whether your existing ERP system can do what you want it to do. And if so, at this stage, you can actually look at how you can better use your existing system or how you can compensate for the gaps. So for instance, using a data warehouse alongside your ERP to provide the reporting and analysis you need rather than looking to change. But if from this process it cannot, then you'll need to explore further regarding changing your ERP. If that is the case, one of the important considerations is to determine whether now is actually the right time. So even though you've established you need to consider changing your ERP, take the time to consider whether now is the time, particularly where there are negative like-for-like market conditions. It's always worth asking yourself whether your time and resources spent looking at changing your ERP are better focused on current trading. If you decide they are, then this is about looking at establishing a project team. So to do this, you need to consider the following areas. Firstly, for this project team, sourcing, selecting and implementing a new ERP system involves a significant amount of time and is often underestimated. So creating a project team who are going to be involved in the process is paramount and needs to be made up of individuals who both understand your business and want to be part of the change. Next part of that is project sponsor. Establishing who from a board perspective is going to own, support and be accountable for delivering the project is key, as well as managing the expectations and risks associated with an implementation. Equally importantly is your capital expenditure or your CapEx budget, is determining how much you actually want to spend and critically how you're going to finance it. So how you're going to fund this CapEx and over what period. What's key is avoiding funding with short-term debt, as if the project is delayed or the implementation impacts trading, you then have a perfect storm, which will have a significant impact on your cash flow. Having established your project team, the next job is to create a specification which will be based upon your earlier work where you began to understand your business needs. The following are some suggested areas to consider when creating your specification. Firstly, core functionality, i.e. what specific functions do you want your ERP to do, i.e. financials or CRM, and can it cater for the different parts of your business? So for instance, if you have a hire offering or you have timber mill manufacturing, can it cope with converting raw materials into finished goods, for example? Scalability is the next consideration. So as your business grows, how many users do you want the system to be able to handle? And following on from that, performance. How responsive do you want your ERP to be? Do you want it to be real time in terms of the information? Integration capabilities are important too, in terms of what existing systems do you want your ERP to integrate with and how, for example, payroll. Mobile accessibility is key in terms of growth and efficiency of processes. So do you need your team to access the ERP remotely via their tablets or mobiles? Following on from that is ease of use. How intuitive do you want the look and feel to be for your team? In terms of customization, are you looking for an ERP to use off the shelf and change your processes to fit this, or do you want to customize and wrap it around your existing? In our experience, the more off the shelf it is, the more successful the implementation. And reporting and analytics, is there the ability to create dashboards with easy access to data and reports? Support and maintenance is an important part of your specification. What type of support and maintenance is available? How responsive do you want it to be? Technology stack, similarly. So are you looking for an ERP system that's built with existing architecture that's up and coming? Or are you looking for something that's more established, whose technology may be less current, i.e. less able to cater for things like artificial intelligence or blockchain? Cloud versus on-premise is an important part too. Do you want the system to be hosted on site with the need for more hardware and the need for a disaster recovery site, or are you looking for it to be hosted, and if so, how? User training and adoption. It's important to specify what types of training you're looking for, including how do you want it to be delivered on site or via e-learning. Vendor reputation and support is key too, in terms of are you looking for an existing incumbent vendor who's numerous clients, or are you looking for a new entrant with a different approach to potentially gain a competitive advantage? And total cost of ownership too, arguably one of the most important elements to understand, is what you're looking for regarding the overall cost of it and the payback period. So when completed, document your specification and keep it in one place, updating versions and taking care to use the most up-to-date, as your thinking may refine through the process. Having created your specification, the next stage is about identifying systems that meet the specification. There are several ways to do this. The first is to ask advice on who you should consider. Most common way is to look at businesses within your sector, similar type, i.e. timber or plumbing, who are similar or larger in size, i.e. who you're looking to become, or speak with consultancies that work within building materials and ask them what systems they've used, worked with, and their experiences. Buying groups are a great help here, as they will know merchants who are not competing with you and be happy to share their experiences, good or bad, with no agenda. Meeting providers at trade shows, whether at trade association or buying group events. ERP providers who specialise in our sector are likely to be at these events, so you can begin to understand who they are and what they're like. Demonstrations too, asking recommended providers for a demonstration helps you gauge the look and feel of each system. At that point, look to issue your specification to these providers, sometimes called an invitation to tender. By sharing your specification with them, they'll be able to consider the suitability of their offerings, then put together a detailed proposal for you, addressing each of the items in your specification. The more important point here is the more open you are with them, the better the proposal will be. Once you start receiving proposals, you need to evaluate each system and create a shortlist, which will often involve further or more specific product demonstrations as part of the process. And to do that, a provider or scorecard checklist is often the easiest way, which can be as simple as a spreadsheet where you take each provider's proposal and evaluate their solution against each criteria of your specification and give it a ranking, maybe 1 if it's a poor fit to 5 for a good fit. So you can see by area and in total by vendor how each compares. An example of an extract from that is shown below, and as you can see, it helps to provide a quick and easy guide to be able to create a shortlist. Having undertaken that process, evaluated the systems, probably gone back with several questions and demonstration requests so you can properly compare, you'll end up with a shortlist of 2 systems. At this stage, there are several considerations that will help you make the final decision. First one of these is engagement. The more open you are with the 2 providers, the better the answers are, and ultimately the closer the fit of their system to your specification. Being collaborative regarding these discussions, your business, and open about your future plans will really aid this process. Customer references are an important question to ask for specific customer referrals that the provider thinks best represent your needs. This will allow you to see testimonials firsthand, directly address any concerns or clarifications needed that were raised by your provider scorecard exercise. Meeting the team too. Clearly people buy from people and people work for people. At this stage it can be beneficial to meet the actual people that would be responsible for the implementation and support of your business. Could you work with them? Do they understand your industry, business requirements and terminology? These are just some of the questions to ask both providers. Commercials too, starting the commercial discussion to better understand not only the proposal, but also what is and isn't included so that you can revise your total cost of ownership calculations. Questions to ask include the cost of the implementation, ongoing license and support, whether upgrades are included, what the service level agreements are for hosting, and how soon you should see a return on investment. If they've provided you with an ROI calculator, this will help you evaluate this. Implementation too for each provider. It's important to understand what the implementation process is, what each stage involves, the amount and type of resource required from your business at each of these stages to help you plan for that. Timescales are critical too. You'll need to understand how long the process will take to help you decide what to implement or when to implement the change with your selected preferred ERP system and provider. For example, do you want to go live at the beginning of the financial year? And you also need to consider things such as stock takes and availability of your team, i.e. avoiding holiday seasons. Financial strength is an obvious consideration, but it's worth undertaking. financial checks on your chosen providers. Product roadmaps too are often overlooked, but it's important to understand and see, in the form of a product roadmap, what each provider is planning to do regarding the continued development of their system. Not only of their existing needs, but your future business needs too. If they can't provide one, you may not have a future-proof system. And finally, escrow. This should be common to all providers, as it ensures that in the unlikely event that something happens to them, source code is protected so your ERP can still be used. Next steps. Once you've made your final decision, create a board proposal which sets out why you're doing it, steps you've taken, why you've chosen the system, along with a CapEx and total cost of ownership calculations, a draft contract and a timelined implementation plan. By doing this and getting it formally approved by your board will ensure that everyone is on the same page. You will then typically give delegated authority to sign the contract following board approval. Next stage is the implementation of the new ERP system. This is a separate topic in itself, but similar to this considerations when changing an ERP, the implementation stage needs to be treated as a project with defined stages, project team and resources, its own budget, and weekly reviews of progress. Above all, communication with your team is paramount. In our experience, by engaging and winning the hearts and minds of your team, your chances of a successful implementation will be greatly increased. Hopefully, from watching this webinar, you now have some key takeaways to use within your business when considering changing your ERP system. But if you have any questions or would like to talk specifically about your business, please feel free to contact us directly or connect with us online to follow the work we're doing and the best practice and ideas that we share should you need our help in the future. So thank you for your time, and we hope that you found the next in this series of Healthcheck webinars provided by NMBS in conjunction with Moorgate Management of benefit. And we look forward to sharing the next in the series with you. Thank you for listening.